Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today, folks. Deep into the world of self-talk. Yeah, that voice inside your head, the one that never seems to quiet down.
The one we all have.
Exactly. And we're exploring it through the lens of Shad Helmstetter's book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. It's a classic in the field. And for good reason. We're going to uncover how the way we talk to ourselves shapes our reality.
Really powerful stuff. It's amazing to see how this field has evolved over the years. I mean, we've gone from this kind of vague notion of self-talk to understanding the actual neurological processes behind it.
It really is fascinating. I mean, think about it. Our thoughts have a direct impact on our brain chemistry, our nervous system, everything.
It's like we've cracked the code on how thoughts, those things we often take for granted, actually translate into, real-world outcomes.
Absolutely. Helmstetter starts off with this statistic that just blew me away. By adulthood, we've heard over 148,000 no's.
Wow.
Yeah. Think about that for a second.
It's pretty startling when you put it that way.
It is. All those no's can really shape our beliefs about what we can and can't do. It's like, imagine a computer program, right?
Yeah.
And it's running in the background filled with all this faulty code. And that code keeps telling us you're not good enough. You can't do it.
And that code, it's running all the time, right? Whether we're aware of it or not.
Exactly. And Helmstetter says that a whopping 77% of our thoughts are actually negative.
So basically, most of us are walking around with this inner critic that's constantly putting us down.
Pretty much. But here's the thing. We're not stuck with that programming. We have the power to change it.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where the magic of self-talk comes in. There's this great story in the book about Mike Vance, the creativity trainer. As a kid, he overheard someone say he was creative, and guess what? That one little statement, it shaped his entire career.
It's amazing how a single positive affirmation can have such a lasting impact, isn't it? It's like planting a seed that grows into this powerful belief.
And unfortunately, the opposite is also true. We tend to dwell on the negative stuff. You spill your coffee, and what's the first thing you think?
Oh, I'm so clumsy. Right.
Exactly. And those little statements, they might seem insignificant, but they can be so detrimental over time.
Because they reinforce those negative beliefs, and then they kind of become self-fulfilling prophecies.
Precisely. But here's the good news. Neuroscience is showing us that we can actually reprogram our minds with conscious effort. And self-talk is the tool to do that.
So instead of saying, I'm so clumsy, you might say something like, okay, everyone makes mistakes. Let's move on.
Exactly. It's about reframing the situation, shifting your perspective.
And Helmstetter takes this even further by outlining 5 distinct levels of self-talk. Level 4, the most powerful one, centers around these I am statements.
Yeah, those I am statements are like direct commands to your subconscious mind. They shape your self-image, your beliefs about who you are.
So things like, I am capable, I am strong, I am worthy. Repeating those phrases regularly, it's like you're creating a whole new blueprint for yourself.
Exactly. And, this also highlights the key difference between external motivation, like a pep talk, and the lasting power of self-motivation.
Because that pep talk, it fades, doesn't it? It's like eating Chinese food. You feel great for an hour and then you're hungry again.
Exactly. Self-motivation, on the other hand, it comes from within. It's fueled by your own beliefs, your own determination.
It's like building that inner fire that keeps you going no matter what.
Now, one story that really stood out to me in the book was about this woman who was absolutely terrified to even make a phone call for a job interview.
I remember that one. It's incredible how self-talk, in her case, just focusing on dialing one number at a time, helped her overcome that fear.
It just goes to show you how even the smallest shifts in self-talk can create these ripple effects in our lives.
Yeah, and it's not just about overcoming fears, right?
Yeah.
Self-talk can be applied to, pretty much every area of our lives.
Oh, absolutely. From setting goals and being more productive to improving our relationships and just feeling happier overall.
So how do we take all this knowledge and actually apply it, in the real world?
Well, that's where things get really interesting, and we're going to delve into that in the next part of our deep dive.
It's amazing to think that just changing how we talk to ourselves could actually have an impact on, the world around us, not just
Yeah.
ourselves.
It's like this ripple effect, right? You create positive change within, and it kind of radiates outwards. Helmstetter actually mentions this woman whose husband's behavior improved just from being around her while she was using those self-talk recordings.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. It was like her positive self-talk created this, atmosphere of positivity.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. And, speaking of influences, We can't forget about those external ones, right? The ones that maybe aren't so positive.
You mean like the media, all that stuff we're bombarded with every day?
Exactly. Helmstetter calls it media talk. It's those messages we're constantly absorbing from, advertising, news, entertainment.
It really is everywhere. It's like we're being told what to buy, what to believe, even how to feel sometimes.
And I think for a lot of people, it can be hard to even recognize where those thoughts and beliefs are coming from.
Right, because it's so ingrained. It's like we think it's our own voice, but it's actually like a chorus of voices that we've internalized.
Yeah, it's like, whose voice are you actually listening to? That's a question Helmstetter really challenges us to ask.
It's a good one. And I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? If we're constantly surrounded by negativity, it's bound to seep into our own thinking.
It's like, imagine your mind is this mental apartment, right?
Yeah.
It's filled with all this old furniture. That represents all our negative thoughts and beliefs.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Instead of just rearranging that furniture, Helmstetter suggests getting rid of it altogether
Yeah.
and replacing it with brand new positive stuff.
So like swapping out that old worn out sofa of I'm not good enough for a sleek new armchair of, you know, I am capable and worthy.
Exactly. It's about intentionally designing a mental space that supports your growth and well-being.
I love that.
Yeah.
But beyond just getting rid of the old furniture, how do we actually go about like choosing those new pieces?
Well, Helmstetter goes into a lot of detail about that. He explains the importance of I am statements, speaking in the present tense, making your self-talk specific and believable.
So it's not just about mindlessly repeating affirmations. It's about creating statements that really resonate with you, that feel authentic and empowering.
Exactly. And he even introduces this technique called self-conversation, where you actually talk to yourself out loud.
Wait, like actually talk out loud?
Yeah, he says it helps to engage more of your senses.
I can imagine him like having a full-blown conversation with himself in like a crowded airport or something.
Well, he does mention having a self-conversation in the Denver airport once when his flight was delayed.
I bet he got some looks.
Probably. But, it's about finding those pockets of privacy, whether it's in the shower or on a walk, to just have this positive and encouraging conversation with yourself.
So it's like becoming your own best friend, your own cheerleader.
Exactly. And, to understand why this works, he dives into the science behind it. Our thoughts, they create these electrical impulses that influence our brain chemistry, our nervous system.
So it's not just some woo-woo concept.
No, not at all. It's grounded in biology. It's fascinating stuff.
So our thoughts really do shape our reality.
In a very literal sense, yes.
Okay, we've covered a lot about like the mechanics of self-talk, but for many people, I think the question is, how do you actually make this a habit? Like weave it into your everyday life?
Well, Helmstetter is a big advocate for using recorded self-talk. He argues that, it doesn't require any extra time and it can be incredibly impactful. He even shares his personal experience with weight loss using self-talk recordings. And as a bonus, his wife lost weight too just by listening in.
It's like your subconscious is always eavesdropping, isn't it?
It is. It's absorbing those words, whether they're positive or negative.
So playing those recordings in the background is like giving your mind this constant stream of positive reinforcement.
Exactly. And what's fascinating? You don't even have to consciously believe the messages for them to have an effect.
Really?
Yeah. Remember that anecdote about the woman whose husband's behavior changed just by him listening to her self-talk tapes?
Right. So even if you're skeptical, giving it a try could have these unexpected positive consequences.
It could. And, this actually ties into Helmstetter's early work in the field of life coaching. He was doing this stuff before the term life coach even existed.
Wow, really?
Yeah, he was a pioneer. And he saw firsthand how self-talk could really enhance the coaching process, helping clients overcome those deeply ingrained limitations.
So it's like self-talk gives people this extra boost, a supportive voice that reinforces what their coach is telling them.
Exactly. He even suggests incorporating self-talk into any coaching program, noting the dramatic improvements he saw in his clients' achievements.
It's powerful stuff.
It is. But, beyond just coaching, Helmstetter provides tons of examples of how you can use self-talk in specific areas of your life, like work, relationships, personal habits.
So it's not just this one-size-fits-all approach.
Not at all. It's about creating a personalized toolkit, tailored to your unique needs and aspirations.
So if I'm struggling with, say, procrastination, there are specific self-talk techniques I can use to address that.
Absolutely. He even provides detailed instructions on how to write your own effective self-talk scripts. It's about becoming your own inner coach.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the how-to of self-talk. But before we wrap up, I think it's important to say that this isn't about becoming some like super productive, super positive robot, right?
No, not at all. It's about embracing our humanity, acknowledging our imperfections.
And still choosing to believe in our capacity for growth. Right?
Exactly. It's self-compassion in action.
And this leads to taking responsibility for our thoughts and emotions. Helmstetter uses this great analogy of breathing. Just as we take every breath on our own, we're responsible for shaping our reality with the words we choose.
It's a powerful analogy. It highlights our agency.
Like no one else can breathe for us,
Yeah.
just as no one else can think our thoughts or feel our emotions for us.
We're the authors of our own inner world.
But, I mean, there are those external forces, right? The things that make us feel like we've lost control of the wheel sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. And Helmstetter challenges us to become more aware of how those external influences are shaping us. It's not about shutting out the world, but about being more discerning, more critical.
Like developing that mental filter we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
choosing the messages that align with our values, and consciously rejecting the ones that don't.
And that brings us back to that question we talked about earlier. Whose voice are you listening to? Is it your own authentic voice? Or the voice of fear, doubt, societal pressure? That self-awareness is key.
It's like becoming the CEO of your own mind, making conscious decisions about which thoughts and beliefs you'll allow to guide you.
And this is an ongoing process. It's a journey, and it requires effort, attention, just like any other skill you want to develop.
It's a practice.
It is. And, something that's really inspiring is that Helmstetter sees self-talk as more than just a personal development tool. He believes that as we elevate our own consciousness, we naturally elevate the consciousness of those around us.
So it's not just about self-improvement. It's about contributing to a larger shift in collective consciousness.
Exactly. And this idea of self-talk as a force for positive change in the world is something we're going to explore further in the final part of our deep dive.
So it's pretty incredible to think about self-talk having that kind of impact, Like not just changing our own lives, but maybe even the world as a whole. But, sometimes the whole idea of rewiring your thoughts and beliefs can feel pretty overwhelming.
Oh, yeah, I get that. It's like, where do you even begin? Well, one thing I really appreciate about Helmstetter is that he doesn't just throw these, abstract concepts at you. He actually gives you concrete tools and techniques to, make self-talk a part of your daily life.
Yeah, he walks you through it step by step.
Exactly. He guides you through crafting those personalized affirmations, creating self-talk recordings, even walks you through having those self-conversations we were talking about earlier.
So it's like you're becoming your own self-talk coach.
Exactly. It's about empowering yourself to take control of that inner dialogue and, really shape your reality. But it's not like a magic bullet, right? You don't just listen to a few affirmations and suddenly everything's perfect.
Yeah, it's not a quick fix.
It's not. It's an ongoing practice. You're
Mm.
committing to choosing those thoughts and beliefs that serve you, even when it's hard.
It's like building a mental muscle.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. The more you practice, the stronger you get at, directing your thoughts and emotions in a more positive direction. But there will be days when you slip up, when those negative thoughts creep back in.
So what do you do then? Like, how do you deal with those setbacks?
Well, Helmstetter acknowledges that. He knows that you're going to have those moments where you fall back into those old patterns, where fear and doubt kind of threaten to derail you.
Yeah.
But instead of seeing those moments as failures, he encourages you to see them as opportunities, like opportunities for learning and growth.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that setbacks aren't the end. They're just a chance to kind of course correct.
Then recommit.
Exactly. Recommit to your goals and to be kind to yourself in those moments. Offer yourself that same compassion you'd offer to a friend.
Because we all stumble. Right. We all make mistakes.
We do. It's part of being human. And it's about learning from those experiences.
Okay, so self-compassion. That's key. Now, one thing we haven't really touched on directly is the importance of taking action.
Right.
Self-talk isn't just about passively repeating nice things to yourself.
Right.
It's about aligning your thoughts, your words, and your actions. It's about bridging that gap between your inner world and your outer world.
Absolutely. Helmstetter encourages you to set those clear goals, break them down into smaller steps, and then use self-talk to support yourself every step of the way.
So it's not about waiting for the perfect moment.
No, not at all.
It's about starting where you are with what you have.
And taking action, even if it's a small step.
And one thing that's really inspiring about all of this is that it's something anyone can do. You don't need any special skills or resources to practice self-talk. It's a tool that's already within you.
It is. It's available to everyone. It's a reminder that you have more power than you realize.
And that you can shape your reality.
Exactly. You can create a life that's full of, purpose, joy, fulfillment.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive. I've really enjoyed exploring Helmstetter's work with you.
Me too. And, to everyone listening out there, remember, you have the power within you to create a life you love, one thought at a time.
Start reprogramming your mind today with those words that, empower you, inspire you. And remember, you're not alone on this journey.
Absolutely. There are so many people who have walked this path before you, and there are so many resources available to support you. You can do this.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We'll see you next time.